First thing I think I want to say is I believe that Paul can beat Bo Cherry. And I believe that the other candidates in the race are much less likely to beat Bo Cherry. Why? First of all, Paul is a Marine. He has a military background that would be appealing to everyone. Bo Cherry wants to run against a rich Republican. He wants to run against a party figure. Look at the polling data anywhere in the United States. People they hate the Democrats. Well, unfortunately, they hate the Republicans. Why? Because a number of Republicans, named them off, and I could go through the list, were just as bad as the Democrats, except that they were even worse because they were hypocritical. They purported to stand for principle and then betrayed those principles. So the allegiance of the average voter in a state like Ohio, which is the core, really, of American values, is looking for somebody of high principle. That's the first big test. They're not looking for a caricature. They're not looking for someone who's part of the establishment. That person is Paul Schiffer. He's a Marine who stood up his entire life for principle at great cost to himself over and over again. We spent all day today going to places that haven't seen a Republican candidate in 20 or 30 years. We went to little VFW halls and American Legion halls. You know, we probably talked to 150 different veterans. We met exactly one who was for Bo Cherry. And you know how many we met that had seen any Republicans in those places? Zero. Not a single Republican had shown up. Those are all Republican votes. Those are all people whose principles are exactly the same as yours. People who believe fiercely in national security, who shed blood on behalf of our country, who are appalled by what's happening in Washington and would like to vote. But they cannot be won by sending out 7 mailers, mailer after mailer after mailer. The first lesson of politics is the same lesson as war. An air war is a great thing, but in the end, a political victory is gained on the ground. It's gained by what's called the ground game. It's gained by going and shaking hands. It's going by having people go precinct by precinct, pass out cards, real people, not television ads, but real people. It's gained by turnout, and that's why going to try and beat someone like Bo Cherry with a campaign that consists of television advertisements and mass mailings is like going to a sword fight with a spoon. It is a losing proposition. And there is no better illustration of how poorly they're going to do than the campaign had waged based on what I've seen. 7 mailers? Ridiculous. A total waste of money. Paul is articulate, he is principled, and he is Bo Cherry's worst nightmare. Can you imagine Bo Cherry today? That's not to say Bo Cherry doesn't have a very significant legislative accomplishment. He has exactly one. And that is, in a town of cynics, in a town of hypocrites, he has marked himself as the king cynic, the king hypocrite in less than 18 months. He is the supreme clown in a town of clowns. Now, Paul is the guy that can articulate that and can debate Bo Cherry and can defeat Bo Cherry, not as a matter of money, but as a matter of principle in a district and in a state that stands for American principles and always has, and will again if we give it a chance. I think that why is that important is the next question, really. Why is it important to defeat Bo Cherry? Why is it important that the Democrats lead right now and lose right now? Well, the reason it's important, first of all, is this is the state where the rubber hits the road. This is the state that determined the 2004 election. This is the state without which, the carrying of which, no Republican has ever been elected president of the United States in modern times. This is the state that is the residuary of American values. This is the state that people look to when you think, what is America? It's Ohio. That's where people really think of. This congressional district, this is a congressional district that, in terms of the principles of the people involved, lines up perfectly and with our side, and to whom Bo Cherry is absolutely foreign. Do you think the people in this congressional district would vote for somebody that would change totally their vote and their principles on something as fundamental as Obamacare? Would first take one hard position one way, and then would cynically take a position exactly the other way? You know, I read just the newspaper yesterday And Bo Cherry said he doesn't understand why people are angry. Get this, because he is going to provide medical care to them that's equivalent to that members of Congress get. That's very nice of Mr. Bo Cherry. What is he, a doctor? Let me guess, is he building a big fund of money that he's going to donate money to? Or is he simply taking money from everybody to try and impose a regime? And isn't it really the case that he's a moderate until the real votes come down, and then if they need his vote, he's just as far to the left as he possibly can be? And he returns back here and treats the people in this district as if they're rubes with utter cynicism. Did you see the picture in the paper? We went to speak to the high school class, and all the people are looking like this, just the kids, and so on. We've got to run somebody here and everywhere else that gives people a real reason for hope and a real reason to be able to vote against people like Bo Cherry. There was a poll that Rasmussen conducted, and they asked this question. They said, if you had a choice, would you take the members of your existing congressmen, or would you take an entry selected at random from the telephone book? You know that the telephone book won 68% to 26%? It carried the Democratic voters, the Republican voters, and the independents. At the rallies in Houston, people began taking a telephone book and just yelled, the book, the telephone book. You can't beat Bo Cherry on the theory that you're going to have a bunch of money and a bunch of mailers, and then you're going to stick somebody up on the stage who hasn't thought through principles and cannot clearly articulate what he stands for. But you're in a district that's desperate for people of principle, in a country, in a state that's desperate for people of principle, and that's Paul. Can Paul win? I think Paul can carry this district even against this huge amount of money being spent. I think Paul has a decent shot at doing it. I think it depends on how hard everybody works, but I think he can do it. And I think if he takes it, if he takes this nomination, he's going to beat Bo Cherry, and then he's going to be Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare in Congress. Can you imagine?